Well, we're getting things going here. I had a bad tire, blew out a tire on the Transtar. Now those old tires are getting pretty, they're not worn down, they're just getting old. But a friend of mine with a trucking company, I went down and got a used tire from him, changed it, probably gave myself a hernia, loading that up and unloading it. But I'm gonna get this switched, and then I've got a little bit of corn to unload. And we're going right in the bin here rather than going through the dryer because, well, the corn's pretty dry. And I wanted to do a video, and I'll show Larry's 14 unloading corn. But this week, I'm putting Larry's video back up kind of attached to this because with throwing the other video on top of Larry's, it sort of got buried. And I really enjoyed that one with Larry, and he's a vet, and you know, let's get him some views, and I'd like to see that video used. So that's why I didn't record much of a video today. I'm just showing you guys what I'm up to. I got to move the combine to another farm, but I got some corn sitting down in there, and I'm gonna unload that, and we'll use Larry's 1456 here, and I really like this tractor. So that's what we're doing here. If you're wondering, that's an 11 ring, 24 foot diameter. It's a tall, narrow bin, and the idea was kind of to use for beans and then haul out right away and fill with corn and fit in a good place. And I really like that bin. But anyways, yeah, let me get the Transtar going here, and then we'll go down and unload the combine and show you guys what I'm up to, and then yeah, let's put Larry's video up. So those of you guys that watch every week and have seen both videos last week, I apologize, but Larry's video didn't get near the love it should have. So, all right, so I got the oil checked, I got some corn. Let's get the old 1456 started. Year-round cab. I actually like this year-round cab. It's in nice shape. And if it were mine, we'll definitely keep it on there. If Larry ever wants to sell this, I'd love to buy it. But in the meantime, it's awesome. He lets me use it. There we go. Tractor 1456. Yeah, I really like this tractor. So yeah, I'll show you getting the combine. We're gonna open up some fields. But yeah, go watch Larry's video. It deserves a lot of views. I kind of forgot to show you guys how I get started combining, but I had to move down here when I could get somebody to give me a ride. These are the headlands opening up a field that's a really small field with a lot of trees. Yeah, the population got a little thin because of all the wet weather and then driving on the headlands, but where it's good, this corn is actually really good for the year. We've had really bad tar spot. This area didn't get hit quite as hard, and it's just south and west of the home farm here by probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles. So anyways, but yeah, go watch Larry's video, and I'll get you guys a good original video next week. I just didn't want to I wanted Larry's video to get seen. Okay, so for this week's Friday story, I'm here with Larry Summerfield. And Larry, you're retired.
Yep.
You were a farmer and also an electrician.
Correct.
And before you were an electrician, you were a vet. Well, I mean, you were in the Air Force,
I was in the Air Force, correct.
and you grew up farming.
I grew up on a farm. How's that sound?
Yeah. So you grew up on the Minnesota side of the river, right?
Right, that is correct.
What was that farm like?
Oh, well, it was, God, I can't even remember how big that was. I think it was like 240 acres, and we farmed with a John Deere A and an H International to start. That's the earliest tractors I remember. Thrashed with a thrashing machine a long time ago.
And was it a livestock farm?
Yeah, we had dairy cows, but they were mixed breeds.
Okay.
Not,
Wasn't purebred.
no.
Where'd your milk go?
Actually, it went to Goodhue.
There was a creamery in Goodhue.
Yes, there was a creamery in Goodhue.
Okay. So, did you get in on the milking?
Yeah, I milked a few cows in my day.
Did you have a pipeline back then, or was it buckets?
It was all buckets and cans.
Okay. So, you're growing up farming, helping out there. Where was the farm at?
It was actually out on number one, just outside of Red Wing.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so that would be what, between Goodhue and Red Wing?
right, correct.
Okay. That's pretty good land out in there.
Oh yeah.
So you graduated from high school,
In
right?
the Air Force. Yep.
Did you enlist?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So what year did you graduate high school?
1964.
So the Vietnam War had started. Just,
Yeah, and they were building up, and the draft was picking up, and I figured, oh, what the hell, join up,
yep. And since you enlisted, that you had a little more options than you did if you
Yeah,
got drafted.
A few options,
Okay.
I ended up going to electronics school at Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi, of all places.
Okay. Did you know so when you were in high school, did you have any plans? Like, did you want to work a trade or ever think about that?
No, not really, I didn't, and then I just kind of fell into everything that I did,
Did you want a farm?
Yeah, that's why I bought this place, because I wanted,
And we'll get to that part for sure. But
I I wanted a farm, but I didn't have the money, and it was very expensive.
so then you end up learning a skill in the Air Force. They trained you on electronics.
Yes. Yep.
So you didn't know anything about being an electrician before the
A little bit, what we got, what you learn
around the farm.
Around the farm, but not, Then I went and took the Minnesota State Board test and passed that, luckily.
Okay.
So
you enlist in the Air Force.
Yep.
And then so were you in for 4 years?
Yes, I was. Well, not quite. I got a 3 months early out.
Okay.
But the Vietnam War was going on, so they didn't. You had to be in a certain career field to get out early.
Okay. So what did they end up having you do? Where'd you get stationed?
I was stationed. Well, I went from Keesler Air Force Base. Well, my basic was at Lackland Air Force Base. I went to Keesler Air Force Base for my electronics training. From there, I went to a radar site in Alaska.
Okay. Which it's the Cold War. That was probably pretty important because we're fighting the Vietnam War, but it's also the Cold War. So keeping an eye on the Russians was...
That's true.
Or the Soviets back then, I guess.
Right.
It wasn't the Russians.
And then from there, I went to Osceola Air Force Station in Osceola, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And there's where I, left the Air Force.
Okay.
So,
So you get out of the Air Force. Were you still thinking about farming then?
oh gosh, yes. You know, I think when you're a kid off the farm, that's
Yeah.
that's the way it is.
Was your dad still farming when you got out of the service?
Well, my parents were divorced.
Okay.
So my dad was living down by Mazeppa, Minnesota,
Okay.
and we lived over closer to Red Wing. So, and my mom remarried, so
Okay.
that's just the way it was.
Yep.
So you grew up that way.
So there wasn't a farm for you to come home
No,
to.
not no.
Okay.
So
Um. So then you end up working a job, a civilian job. So what'd you start doing when you got out?
when I got out, when I first got out of the service, I wanted to be a carpenter like my grandfather,
Okay.
which doesn't make much sense, even though I had an electronics background. And then I got laid off there, and a friend of mine was working at a steel shop, and he says, "Oh, come on, they need somebody to repair machinery and stuff." And I said, "Well, what do I know about their equipment?" He says, "Well, what do I know?" So I went and took the state board, took the state test for, electrician. I passed, which I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
So, and I worked there for, oh gosh, 10 years at structural steel in St. Paul.
Okay.
So then I, got the bug that I wanted to farm. Yeah, you can take the kid from the farm, but you can't take the farm out of the kid. Just the way it is.
Yeah.
So,
So how did you end up? Then you decided you were going to buy a farm.
right.
I'm assuming you had a house in the cities and you were.
No, I had a house in Stillwater, actually.
Okay.
And I talked the wife at the time into moving down here, and that's how I ended up.
How did you end up looking for a farm here versus so if you
At the time, land prices in Minnesota were really high, and this land over here was cheaper.
okay, so it was cheaper over here.
Yes, it was.
Okay. And I'm guessing it was hard probably there probably wasn't a lot of probably didn't have many farms to choose from
No,
either. Like
no.
there weren't a lot of farms for sale. I mean,
No, there weren't.
because this was so you bought this in 80.
Yeah,
So
80 or 81, I can't remember for sure.
so things are still pretty high priced.
Oh yeah, very expensive.
Yep. So you moved here and you lived here at the time at
Right.
first.
Correct.
And you were saying you bought this in 80. You made the deal, but you hadn't closed on it. And if you look over there, there's the silo. This had a round barn.
Round barn on it, yes.
And that was one of the things you really liked about the farm, was
Right,
it?
that was correct.
And then before you even closed, the 1980 storm,
Took the barn down.
which that 80 storm probably took a third to half of the barns around the area.
Yeah.
So you hadn't even closed on it yet, and then the barn blew away.
Right.
So the house stood okay.
Right. Correct.
So then you just continued to live here,
Yep.
and then you were commuting to the cities to work.
Right. That is correct.
Okay. So you switched jobs in there at some point, right? You went to work for 3M.
Well, I worked for, yeah. Yes.
Okay. So when you bought this farm, were you working at 3M?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So were you on day shift or was that swing shift or?
I was on a rotating shift.
Okay. So you'd be nights or evenings and.
You work from, 8 to 4,
Yep.
4 to midnight, midnight to 8.
Yep.
Those are the kind of shifts we worked.
Okay.
But Luckily, I was able to get on day shift, pretty much, not too long after I'd started. So,
Okay, so you were mostly on days.
right.
Which actually I've heard guys that work different shifts. They said night shift was actually okay for the farm because you'd come home, take a nap, and you could.
Yeah, but I preferred the day shift,
Yeah.
you know.
So you're driving to the St. Paul,
Correct.
commuting, and you start farming here.
Right.
Did you have any livestock?
No.
Okay,
No, I did not.
but you had originally planned on having livestock. That
Yeah,
was
originally I had planned on having, raising beef cattle, but
then the barn blew away.
then the barn blew away and, you know, so that kind of wiped that out.
So then you started just corn and beans,
Corn and beans, right.
which on the Minnesota side was real common at the time.
Yep.
There was a lot of row cropping over here where this side of the river, there was a lot of dairy. I mean, the Ellsworth Co-op Creamery was,
Right.
a lot of dairy. So, did you ever grow any hay in there? Did you make any hay and sell or anything? Or
Yeah, I had some hay here, but not very much,
hay is a hard thing to do when you got a job.
Yeah,
Because who's going to rake the hay when you go to work and,
that's true.
So, yeah. So you're raising corn and beans in the 80s. And this farm you said was kind of run down when you got it as far as the ground.
The ground had been, the land had been, rented out.
Yep.
And, you only get what you put into it, naturally.
Yep.
So,
and
that was probably the big thing.
So then you needed a tractor when you bought the place, right?
That's true. Yeah.
And you started out with that one.
I started out with that 560 in an H International.
Yep.
That belonged to my dad many years ago.
Yep. So you like the IH stuff?
Oh yeah. Even though I've run just about everything.
Okay. But the IHs were kind of the ones that just...
Yeah. Back in Minnesota, we had Massey Ferguson, we had John Deere's, we had, everything.
Yep.
So,
Um,
whatever was affordable at the time.
How did you find this farm then? Did you call realtors or?
No, actually, I drew a circle around, the Twin Cities, actually Stillwater. And I went out like 40 miles, and I just, then on the weekends when I wasn't working, I just drive around and look at farms, that were for sale.
Yep.
And this place was for sale. That's how I found it.
Yeah.
Accidentally.
Okay.
So
you didn't know anybody around here, right?
Oh gosh, no. No, I didn't know anybody around here.
Okay. So then were your kids going to Ellsworth at the time?
I only had the daughter at the time, and she was going, and then I got divorced from that wife, so.
Okay. Then she moved.
She moved.
Okay.
She wasn't a farm girl. How's that sound?
Okay.
You need one of them.
Yep. So then you're just doing the corn and beans. What'd you do with, so how many acres were tillable?
Oh, gosh. I want to say around 75.
Okay. And you're moldboard plowing all that with a 4-bottom plow, right?
Yep.
And
using that 560.
Yeah. And then disking with it. Then eventually you bought another 560, right? To disc with.
That is true. Yeah, I bought another 560.
So what'd you have for a corn planter then?
4-row wide, 38,
Yep.
inch, uh, international corn planter,
Okay.
you know. So
Because you had a cyclo still back
I
here.
do have yeah. The other one's still sitting back there too.
Was that like a 56 then?
God, yeah, I think it might have been. It was an international corn planter,
So it was a plate type then.
plate type, right?
Okay. All right. So then, um, did you have plates for beans or did you
I
drill
had
your beans?
I drilled my beans.
Okay, so you used a grain drill
Yep.
for the beans.
Yeah. I bought a John Deere grain drill, from I seen it in the paper and I says, well, that might have to do. I plugged every other hole on it and
Yep.
used that for planting beans.
Did you do your own spraying?
Yep.
Oh, really? So you had a
Yep.
pull type sprayer?
Yep.
Did you spray with the 560 then that you planted with?
Yep. Yes, I did.
Okay.
And the
So,
sprayer tank's still sitting back there.
well, and back, so guys putting, back in like the 70s, guys planting soybeans, actually a lot of them guys used to run tanks on their disking tractor and incorporate chemical
Right.
Treflan and stuff.
Yeah, gosh, I don't even remember what I used.
But you were spraying separate. You weren't
Right. I was
incorporating.
spraying separate.
Okay.
Same way with corn. I was spraying my corn separately too.
Okay. So then, did you have any cribs here or anything?
No. Nope.
So you never had a corn picker then?
No, I never had a corn picker, but I had a combine.
Okay. Yeah. So, because if you're going to do beans, you needed a combine.
Right.
Where at the time, I'm guessing early 80s, a lot of guys were still picking around here and putting it in cribs.
Yeah, probably.
So what'd you have for a combine?
Massey Ferguson 410
Okay. Gas?
gas.
Okay. So it was that would be in a straight 6 in that, right?
Yep.
Not a V8.
Chrysler 6 in it.
Slant 6.
Yep.
Okay. Because the 510, some of them had 327 Chevys.
327 Chevys, right.
Yep. Do you have a straight pipe on that slant 6?
No, I think I had a muffler on that.
Okay.
You know.
So did you have a love bar for the bean head or anything, or
Floating sickle bar.
okay? Because Hinneker made them love bars and stuff that would kind of
Yeah, it was a
float.
floating. Yeah, it would actually, dip and dive all over the place the way it seemed.
Did it have header height control where it would raise and lower?
Yeah, I could raise and lower the head.
But I mean automatically where it would.
No,
Okay.
that didn't. But I did it from inside the combine.
Yep.
So
So what did you do with your grain then?
I sold it locally here, and so
You went to guards with it?
yeah, Bob Cards.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you have any gravity boxes or just that Ford truck?
at the time I had no gravity boxes.
Okay. So
I
you
had just a Ford truck.
so you had a single axle Ford grain truck
Right,
with a 306,
right.
and you probably didn't go anywhere quickly.
Oh God, no. Even driving up the, going through Ellsworth, because that was the easiest way to go. Was
Right.
going up the hill in Ellsworth she was in granny gear,
Yeah.
fully loaded with soybeans
Yep.
or corn, whatever you had in it,
Yep.
So, but
And those early and mid 80s, I mean, corn was probably selling for less than 2.
yeah,
Beans were maybe what, 4?
I can't remember. I don't really remember what beans were, but they weren't very much,
Yeah.
Corn, if it was, if it had any moisture in it, was, you get a buck 19, 20 for a bushel,
Yeah.
It was difficult. I spent more money on, on the crops than I was getting from it for it, a lot of times.
Yeah.
But, you had to move you had to have cash flow.
Right.
So, but
Yeah. And well, right? Would your wife did she was she okay with the farming or
Yeah, I think she was, but I think she got bored too, you know, out here,
yep, yep.
if
If
that
she's a
makes
city
sense.
girl.
Yeah, and yeah, okay, yeah, kind of
Okay. So yeah, so you've got a young family and you're
struggling.
struggling and yeah, and farming ain't paying real good. So you weren't trying did it ever cross your mind to try and rent a bunch of ground and um, do more farming and less with the job?
No, no, because it was. I could see I wasn't making enough money here to support the farm. My job was supporting the farm,
Okay. Yep.
so
Well, and yeah, that was which in a way the farm was making you money back too on the tax side because you had write-offs from your job.
that's true, But I think it cost more than you got back,
Okay.
So
But um
yeah, the '80s were not easy for any young farmer.
no, interest was high.
Interest kept going up, you know.
Do you remember what your interest rate was this on this
Oh God,
mortgage?
I know it was. I know it was 12, 13% at the time.
So were you with FMHA or PCA?
I was FMHA.
Okay.
Yeah,
So at least it was fixed, right?
right.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, but that's life,
Yeah. So then you're working, farming, and you get into the early 90s, late 80s, you upgrade some stuff. You got that 1456
Yep.
and
So,
um
yeah, I got the 1456 and a few other things, and you know, could plow a lot faster than the 560 could.
right.
Could turn over. So that was a little more relief for me, but still working a full-time job and trying to farm was a real tough thing to do.
Yeah.
And it was tough on the family life too. That's the sad part.
Yeah. Cuz eventually didn't you end up moving back to the cities and then coming out here to farm?
Correct. Yes. Yep.
So you get done with work and drive out here to farm,
Yep.
but then you were living up in the cities.
Right.
And I bet that got
That got old quite fast.
right.
You know, you know, you get off work at 4 o'clock and you get run down here and run until it was after dark.
Yep.
9, 10 o'clock at night, and go home and try to eat something or whatever. And
Yeah.
actually, it was Stillwater that I lived in. So,
Okay. Yep.
but
And that's still a good drive to Stillwater.
oh yeah,
So but you worked with some guys too up there in 3M that also farmed, right?
oh yeah, yep, I did.
So you guys can't because you worked with one of those guys like and helped farm with them, right? With Ronnie?
Ronnie Willett, right? Who lived a mile south of me here.
Right.
So
So you helped each other
yeah,
some.
we'd check on each other, make sure everything is we're okay.
Yeah.
So
And you had bigger equipment than he did.
yeah,
He just hit
he had John Deere's and I had International. So
yeah, didn't he? He had like a 2520, right?
Yep.
That's a lot
And he
smaller
had
than
a 60 too.
okay. That's a lot smaller than a 1456.
Oh God, yeah.
So that 14 ended up doing some work for him.
That's true. Yep.
Okay.
I did some work over there for him.
Well, and then he kind of found you. You had a farm accident, right?
That's true. Yeah, I got stuck. Yeah. Well, in the muck back in the field there, and I got caught the wheel on one of the tractors. I kind of leaned over and kind of knocked me out of my seat and kind of pinned me underneath, and the tractor's spinning away, and I'm, oh my God, now what,
Yep.
the damn tractor's going to run over me. And luckily, Ron came by and shut the tractor off and got me out of there and took me to the hospital.
Huh.
So,
how bad were you hurt?
well, I wasn't, I think it was more being afraid.
Yeah.
Or scared.
Yep.
If that makes sense. I'm laying out in the field dying or whatever, and
yeah,
afraid of death. Period.
Yep.
So, but I made it through that.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time in recovery, if you want to call it that. Still haven't recovered mentally, but still on a farm and play around.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So then 90s was probably somewhere in there is about when you kind of backed out of the farming yourself.
That's true. Yep.
But you still like the tractors because you picked up a couple more.
Yeah.
Along the way.
Yep, I did.
And this 1486 behind us and the black stripe 1066 and we got those two running.
Yeah, yeah.
We're working on the 560.
Yeah.
But when you decided to rent it out, was that when you were living in the cities?
Yes. Yeah, because it just got too much, for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't, and being married, with kids, it's kind of, you just didn't have time for them, for the wife or the kids, if that makes sense. To me it does now, but back then it didn't, because I wanted to be happy, farming, if that makes sense.
Well, and did the kids take an interest in the farm stuff at all?
Not until, no, not really.
So that's hard.
Because I had already divorced my first wife.
Okay.
And those kids were, my two oldest ones were up in Little Falls, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Because she had moved up with her, up close to her sister, and and then running back and forth trying to, have the kids every other weekend was kind of a big pain in the butt too.
Yep.
So, but that's life,
Yeah. So when you bought this, you had an FMHA mortgage.
Right.
But if you didn't have any equipment,
right.
Did you have to borrow money to buy a line of equipment?
No, actually, the first year, my stepdad's brother came over and did a lot of planting for me, and
he came from Red Wing.
He came from Red Wing area, yeah.
Okay.
And he had what the hell did he have? An 806 International, I remember that.
Okay.
And so, but then I started getting my own equipment and doing more and more of my own.
Okay. So, yeah, it takes money.
Oh yeah.
And
it, of course, I was supporting the family and and supporting the farm and trying to buy equipment with the money I was making at 3M.
Yeah.
So,
Do you remember where a lot of it came, like that grain truck? Do you remember where you got your grain truck?
yeah, that came from my stepdad's brother.
Oh, okay.
Yep, the Ford. Yeah, he gave me a deal on it.
Okay.
So,
So where'd that first corn planter come from?
from him also.
Oh, really?
Yep,
Okay.
the corn planter came from him. Uh, this 560 over here,
That was your brother-in-law's,
that
right?
was my brother-in-law's.
So did you get a plow from him for that, or?
No, I bought a plow up where, north of here. I seen it. I was driving along and oh, there's a semi-mount plow and
Yep.
you know, it had a for sale sign on it and I bought it.
Okay.
So, and it
Yeah.
was reasonable at the time, I thought.
Okay.
So, in fact, it's sitting right over there in the weeds.
And you got that 720 or 710 plow
Yeah.
that you pulled with the 1456,
No, yeah,
because that's an automatic reset.
right.
Yeah. Which you found out about rocks when you came here.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah.
Automatic reset was probably pretty nice to have, wasn't it?
Yeah, she'd clang a lot. I don't think they ever picked rocks over here.
Well,
Although there's a lot of rock piles around.
my grandpa told me years ago, he said, if you ever go to buy a farm, he said, and there's a rock foundation on any building, he said, just don't buy it. He says, because they didn't haul the rocks in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this neighborhood, like that Peterson farm over there, that big field of mine, hardly any rock on that. On the other side of the creek,
Yep.
it's all rock.
Yep.
You know?
Just the way it is, how the glaciers went through here.
Yep. So we're in what they call the driftless
Right.
area, where so the last ice age, the glaciers stayed out.
Right.
They didn't level this like they did. That's why we're hilly and
Yep.
we have cricks and, which it's pretty over here.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful country.
Yeah.
I, but
So did you want to live in the cities so you didn't have to commute to work, or would you have rather just lived out here the whole time?
I would have rather lived out here the whole time.
Okay.
But,
What's your farm?
yeah.
Like, you get attached. There's something about working with the land that,
In the spring, I think that's how do I want to say this? I don't want to say I fell in love with it, but I did. When you're out there plowing, turning dirt over,
yep.
it's just that smell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I think it's just something that, hits you.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, if you feel the same way and think about it the same way.
Oh,
But when you turn ground over, and it's just, there's something about it.
I love planting, the feeling of putting
A crop in,
and then when you,
see it growing.
right, there's satisfaction from that you don't get from just a lot of stuff that,
That's true.
and it's one of those things that there's jobs out there where somebody can do a job and no one even knows what they did. Where farming is one of those things that there's a direct, you get what you put into it and you can see that.
Yeah, watching something grow, that's the big thing.
There's a piece that comes from this that it's hard to.
It makes you feel good.
Right. It does. Yeah.
There was, saying farmers feed the world. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And you feel a part of it.
Yeah. So you started renting the land out.
Yep.
But you you're living up in the cities, you'd still come out,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And
Stay in the house, and so do
still
things like that.
still nice to be around and
Yep.
see everybody working um and your dad had farmed. What did he think when you bought a farm?
I don't know. I think he was kind of happy for me at the time,
Yep.
but I don't think he realized how much I would struggle doing it,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and I mean that had to be tough. So you get divorced, and
Yeah,
did she want part of the farm?
Well, yeah, I ended up having to pay her off. I had to figure out where I was going to get the money to pay her to buy her out,
Right.
you know. And I scraped and scrimped and went without a lot of things, to pay her off,
Yeah.
which I did get pay. I did pay her off,
Yep.
So
Yeah. Well, and at the time you're doing this, so today farmland values are high. Farms are worth good money.
yeah,
But at the time, it wasn't like a farm was worth a lot more than, say, a house in town, even. Not way more.
no, not way more, but but
You wanted to keep the farm.
I wanted to keep the farm, right?
Yeah.
Yep, because it's what I wanted to do, but life goes by, You can only do so much when you're working in the city, and then coming out here and trying to farm.
Yep. So you did that, started to rent stuff out. Ronnie Willette rented his out too.
Yeah, Ron rented his out,
Um,
but I still farmed
okay.
after he had quit.
Okay. But then eventually you rented it out.
Yep.
And and then you moved here full time again.
Right. After I got divorced.
Okay.
From my second wife.
Okay. Did you have to buy it again from her that time, or since you had it ahead of?
No. I had an agreement before.
Okay.
Prior. How's that sound?
Okay.
So,
So this time it was just yours.
Yeah, it was mine.
Yep. Did she ever want to live out here?
My second wife, no.
Yeah. She didn't care for.
No, we got a house in St. Paul, and that's what she wanted.
Okay.
So I was paying for two places, at the time.
Yep.
But
well, then you finally. So then, when did you get divorced to move out here full time again?
Good God. I think I was married to her in the early 80s.
Okay.
No, early 90s, actually.
Yeah, because isn't your son like 34?
Well, let's see. Trev was born in 91.
Oh, so he'd be 33?
Yeah. So, my youngest.
Yep.
So, yep. So it was after he was born. So I'm saying I came, well.
In the 2000s, probably.
No, in the 90s. It was in the 90s.
Okay.
He was young, very little,
Okay.
So, but I don't think he was in school yet.
Okay.
But that's life. Life, does weird things to you.
But it has a way of kind of working out.
Oh yeah.
Like.
You got to meet the right person, and you got to be with the right person to farm. I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned. It's easier for me to be single than try to find somebody that fits.
Yeah. Yep.
So
So then were you a lot happier once you were just out here full time?
Yeah, but the only bad thing was, the kids,
Right.
you know, but yeah, I was much happier. I didn't mind driving. It didn't bother me to drive to work in the city,
Yep.
you know, but just the way it is. That's life.
Yep.
You do what you think is right for you,
Yeah.
and your children, if you want to look at it that way.
So then and then eventually you were able to retire.
Yep, I retired. So
And it's got to be, nice to just be on your farm and just be here.
oh yeah, yeah, it is. It's just
Even if you're not farming, it's still
right. You know, kind of miss doing playing in the dirt and stuff
yeah.
like that. But there's enough people around here that need a hand once in a while to, that I can help them out.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
but
It's there's something about, I don't know. I don't think I could live in a bunch of houses
well,
after.
yeah, it's different.
Well, that had to be kind of hard too when the weekend rolls around, and your neighbors up in the cities are mowing their lawns and doing all kinds of stuff, and you're heading out here.
Well, yeah, working. You work. Living in the city and working here. Having this was a 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You worked.
Yep. So that probably was a lot of stress on
The family life.
Right.
So yes.
Yeah, when the normal guys up in the cities, like I said, the weekend comes around, they're doing their projects around the house or
out fishing or whatever.
Yep. And you're coming out here to.
Yep. I was out here playing in the dirt.
Yeah.
Enjoying myself.
Yep. Yep.
If that makes sense, but to some people they'd say you're nuts.
Yeah.
In fact, I told some people told me that.
Right.
So.
But yeah, you still kept buying equipment.
Right.
Even after.
To make it easier for myself.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing.
But
how can I do it faster? How can I do it better? And still make a little bit of money.
And that's where the 1456 helped you get more done.
Right.
But then the 10 and the 1486 you bought kind of after you didn't really farm with these two then.
No, I didn't.
You bought them and.
Yeah, and actually I bought the 14. This is 86 behind me.
Yep.
To do the disking and stuff like that. And I used the 560 for planting and.
Yeah.
I just, it was easier for me to hop from one tractor to another with the equipment hooked up already.
Yep.
Because I do a lot of the work, at dusk.
Yeah.
Or in the dark, or half dark,
Yep.
So.
But these two kind of came after you had quit farming, where you were.
Yeah, actually they did,
But they're just kind of, you like tractors.
Yeah, I like tractors.
Yeah. That's, yeah. And
I enjoy listening to them and driving them and
yeah,
playing. How's that sound?
Yeah. And eventually you ended up with the cycle planter to replace the 56 planter.
That's true. Yep.
Where'd the cyclo come from?
Actually, it was at an auction here in right here in Ellsworth.
Okay.
So that's where that came from.
Did you like the cyclo?
Yeah, it was. I found out that it was a lot easier.
Bulk fill.
Right, bulk fill.
Yep.
I could go and that's just, it was go, 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 go.
Yep.
You know, time saving. I
Yep.
think that, that's what I looked at more than anything.
And you were planting with the 560 with the Cyclo too.
Yeah,
Okay. Did that have a monitor?
yeah.
Where's that?
I don't know. Probably in the house.
Yeah.
You know.
Because you'd bolt that on the 560 and.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
So,
And then what happened to the 410 Massey?
the 410 Massey is still here someplace.
Is it?
Yeah. No, it was scrapped.
Okay.
Ended up being scrapped.
So what happened to it as far as it break and then?
Yeah, well, the head was starting to, I was constantly working on it,
Yep.
Bearings going out of it,
Then you bought that New Holland.
then I bought the New Holland.
Okay. And that's a diesel.
Right, that's diesel. Yeah, and the other thing was the Massey was gas, and there was a lot of fire danger with that thing.
Yeah.
That was, it caught on fire several times. you know.
But you liked the Massey better though than that New Holland, you said.
Oh yeah, I did. And I don't know why. It's just, probably because it was my first that I bought.
Okay.
I think that has a lot to do with things that people like,
Yep. Yep.
Whether it be a John Deere or International or Case or whatever.
Yep.
It's what you started out with and how you struggled. And, I seen the neighbor here with his Alice's, and he gets stuck with them things, and I'd have to go pull them out or whatever. And, God, I'm glad I got an International. But that was just, life.
Yeah.
So, but,
Yeah. And then, and they'd pull you out too.
oh, yeah. Yeah. I had a WD-45 pull me out several times.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
so
No,
it's awful difficult to pull yourself out.
it is. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people used to get hurt because, in the early days of tractors, there wasn't just another tractor there to pull you out. So guys would chain posts to the wheels
right?
and,
Yep.
and that's dangerous.
Very dangerous. Yeah.
Um,
And that's why farmers get hurt.
right.
Because
Yeah.
they try to do it all themselves.
Yep.
You know.
So, yeah, looking back at it now, would you have done it any different as far as?
Probably not, because of the amount of money that it costs. It's so expensive to farm.
Yep.
There's no cheap way of farming.
Oh, it takes a lot of capital to get in.
That's true. And you struggle.
Yeah.
And then you worry about everything. Are your crops going to fail? Or are you going to make enough money to pay for everything?
Yep.
But that's just the way life is.
But you still got the farm.
I still got the farm.
Still got the tractors.
Still got the tractors. Yep.
And it's what? That's 44 years.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah. Not everything's paid off yet, but that's life. You just keep going the way it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And the neighbors that with those Alice's that you now those Alice's come over here and plant the crop.
Right. Yep. Yeah. The sons of the guy that I was good friends with.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
But that's just the way it is.
And you can still look out at your internationals even if you got to see that Alice's out there.
Yeah, and the internationals are there to pull them Alice's out if they have to.
Okay. Yep.
every now and then I used to have a John Deere come over here, and somebody'd say, "What's that chain? Is that chain welded to that John Deere or what? Are you pushing him or what?"
Yeah. Yeah. Do you so the 1456, the 1066 and the 1486. So when you started farming in 1980,
Yep.
like that 1486 was actually a new tractor at the
Yeah,
time.
it was fairly new.
Do you remember those tractors, and is that why you wanted?
Actually, I remember the 560s being, I, I worked at a pea viner at one time when I was a youngster.
Yep.
I was still in high school. We'd pitch peas into a stationary viner, and there was a lot of 560s that they used. I think it was Parable Canning at the time.
Okay. Yep.
And I don't know where they were getting the tractors or who owned them, or if they were farmer owned and rented or leased to to Faribault Canning or not.
Yep.
But they used a lot of 560s on those swathers that they cut
Yep.
the peas down with.
Yep.
And then they'd load them on trucks and haul them to the stationary viner.
Okay.
Now it's all now it's all pull type stuff.
Right.
But
Well, do you remember, like, before you even bought the farm, were you following what was going on in farming, like reading farm papers or?
I had farm journal and a couple other I had a magazine.
So you were seeing this equipment when it was new in the magazines.
Oh yeah.
So, that had to be, was it a good feeling when you got some of these?
Oh yeah.
After.
I thought, oh my God, I'm almost in hog heaven.
Yeah.
So.
Because like I said, that 1486, they were a current tractor in 1980 when you bought this place.
Yep.
Do you remember going to the Minnesota State Fair?
Oh God, yeah.
Machinery Hill.
Machinery Hill.
You'd wander around there and look at all that stuff and.
Yeah, and dream.
Right.
You'd go, oh God, what I could do with that, or what but.
Well, Machinery Hill that was a big deal.
Well, yeah, that's why all the farmers went there.
Yeah.
To look at the new equipment.
Did you ever go to like Farm Fest or any of the other ones out?
I only went to the one that was out here here.
Oh, Farm Technology Days.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. But yeah, Machinery Hill was.
Yeah. That's where all the new stuff was.
Yeah. So do you remember some of the important things, like when? Do you remember you were an IH guy? Do you remember when Case and IH merged in '85?
No, I don't. Because I was working then. I was at 3M, and I go. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that was a big deal.
Yeah, it was.
Well, and Alice was bought by Deutz.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff was.
Yeah. Of course, that's the way everything was back then.
Yeah, the '80s.
It wasn't only farm equipment. It was
Yeah.
Dealers, vehicles, cars, trucks,
Yeah.
pickups. Some would come and go. Some would go.
Right.
But. And now what do you got? Chevrolet, Ford, and Dodge.
Yeah.
And them other things. The Japanese ones.
Yeah.
Where are they?
There's a few.
Datsun?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So, all that was there. I mean, you bought the 14 and the 10 later, and just kind of to have.
Right.
Was there any tractor that you wish you would have bought that you never did? Or was there a combine where you ever like, I wish I would have bought one of them?
No. back when I was in high school, we had a Massey Ferguson 85
Yep.
diesel. And that was a great little tractor.
Okay.
You know, it was fun to drive. It was, comfortable. You didn't sit up real high like you do on the Internationals, but
Yep.
and it had guts.
Yeah.
So.
But there wasn't like you were like, oh, I wish I would have bought a, like a 1466 or a 1468 or
Right.
a,
Yep.
nothing like that
Nope.
you
But
or a like an axial flow combine or
no, like you bought what at the time when I started doing this, you bought what you could afford.
Yeah.
And you didn't, you tried not to go too far in debt.
Yep. Where did that Massey combine come from? Did you buy that at Red Wing Implement or?
No, the Massey,
Yeah,
410.
Yep.
That actually came from. There was a young farmer around here that was, he worked at I want to say he worked at the AFCS office.
Okay.
And he was farming some land north of here, and he had I seen a 410 Massey for sale in the local paper.
Oh, okay.
And I called him up, and that's where it came from. Where it came from originally, I have no idea.
Did you want a Massey combine? Was that?
Well, I knew about Massey combines,
Okay.
So because being from the Red Wing area originally,
Red Wing Implement.
Yep, Red Wing Implement,
Yep.
And I knew, I went to school with the son of the owner of that, and
Okay.
so it was just, and there was a lot of Masseys around Red Wing at the time. So.
Yep. Well,
and getting parts for tractors, was important.
Yep.
And I could call up the owner of the, Red Wing Implement and say, hey, I'm coming over. I need this, and this for, Massey combine, and he'd run out to the shop and get,
Yeah.
I could pick it up.
Yep.
So it was important to have a good dealer around too.
Yeah. Well, and there was IH in Ellsworth.
Right.
Which, Julian Walsingham, then Hoyka.
Right.
And, and you didn't have a lot of Deere stuff.
No.
So.
A John Deere disc.
Okay. And you didn't need to go to John Deere to get.
No. Go to Fleet Farm for that.
Yeah. Yep. So then in the 1400 New Holland combine, you said the Massey it broke down.
Yeah, and I needed a combine, and I needed it now,
Yep.
You know how it is. And, Larry Nelson had it.
Yep.
And he says, I'll make you a deal on it. And I says, okay. So that's how I got that.
Yep.
But I wasn't real familiar with it, but
it worked.
It
right?
worked.
Do you got a corn head for it somewhere too?
Yep, there's a corn head for it.
Okay.
But it was good on soybeans.
Yeah. Yeah. So you weren't you never wanted to upgrade the combine and get back into it.
No. No, not really. I'm getting too old for that now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's been a long time since that combine ran. Did you run it many years at all?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
3, 4. That's about it.
Okay. Yep.
Probably never get my money out of that one.
Yeah.
It's not like the old Massey was.
Yeah. So you ran that for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's and they were both gear drive,
Yep.
hydros.
Right.
But they're variable speed, right?
Right.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, just think if you would have got that's why I'm surprised you didn't want like a 850 Massey or something like that.
Well, I would have preferred to have a Massey, but
Yeah.
because of the local dealers,
Yep.
the dealers that I knew.
Yep.
And I think that that's quite important to any farmer, though.
Yeah.
That he gets to know his local dealer, whether it be John Deere or whatever.
Yep.
You know, all my relatives down there in the Mazeppa area and that area, most of them are John Deere.
Yep.
You know, or Case.
Okay.
There's some Case. There's a Case dealer in Mazeppa. At least there used to be.
Yep.
I don't know if there still is, but
I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, a good dealer sold a lot of this stuff.
oh yeah,
That
yeah. And there was a reason why I had internationals here too, is because of the international dealer here in town.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
And well,
and that's the way it was. I think that's just the way it was. Around. I mean, I know see a lot of green stuff around here, but you know, just the way it is.
right.
You know.
Yep. So yeah, you've watched this area grow and the amount of people that have moved in
Yeah.
and the dairy went away around here
Yep.
and now it's all row crops and houses. There's just houses all over.
Yeah. And a few people who raise beef cattle, but
Yep.
or they're former dairy farmers that switched to beef,
Yep.
because of the upgrades that they needed,
Yep.
And that has a lot to do with things. How much money it cost you.
Yep. So then, you grew up on the Minnesota side. Are you more attached to this side of the river now after all these years?
Actually, I found that the ground over here is not like the ground over there. A lot different.
Yep.
Here, when you get stuck, you need, you're stuck. Over there, you get stuck, and, oh God, nothing, no, we get out of here, no problem.
Yeah.
But
But do you consider yourself a Wisconsinite now?
oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Just, that's because I live here.
Yep.
Well,
Well, this is home.
yeah,
Then
this is home. I've been here for, 30, 40 years now.
Yeah.
You can't, you can't take some things away from, Still not a Packer fan, though,
Okay. Yeah.
if that makes sense. But-
Yeah. No. Well, and it's people really enjoyed seeing us getting these tractors running again,
Well, yeah.
and I enjoy seeing that.
Well, I
Seeing 'em.
enjoyed it too. I'm glad you've helped me out.
Yeah.
You know.
This we're gonna, and we're not done. We're gonna.
There's lots of things to play with.
Yeah, we got to get that pump for the 10 done.
Yeah.
But I still can't believe that 1486 fired right up like it never been.
Yeah.
It. But yeah, I see it's got a leaking tire again. We
Oh,
aired
is
them
it?
up.
Is it
Yeah. But we got them running and driving. We should check the coolant and that kind of stuff
Yeah.
and maybe change them. But at least we can move them and keep them running some
Right.
so they won't go,
South again.
Yeah.
So.
And that 10, yeah, she's that's a really cool 10. Well, so is this 1486, but
Well, you got my 1456
Yeah.
over at your place, and
yeah,
I don't know how's she running.
really good.
That's good.
I'm very fond of that tractor.
Oh God, don't get too fond of it.
My 856 needs a friend around there.
Yeah, well. Oh, your 856 needs a bigger friend.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I can understand that.
Yep.
So, as long as you're happy using it and playing with it, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's been good for it.
Yeah, that's good.
So, but yeah, everybody was has really enjoyed seeing these tractors get running,
Yeah.
and um, yeah, well, you had had a stroke,
Yes.
so you couldn't really do as much.
Right. Yeah, I've had a stroke, and life, you just keep living day by day,
Yep.
and hopefully you keep living.
Yeah.
You know.
So that's why these had kind of been part too, were
Right.
they?
Yep. Yeah.
So, um, but when people ask, it's like, well, they're yours, and you
Right.
like your tractor, so why would you get rid of them?
You
Just
you don't get rid of something that you
yeah,
fall in love with, if that makes sense.
right. So there's an attachment to these because it
It,
attaches you to farming.
right. You know, that 560 there, that came from my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And I go, how could I get rid of that?
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So we'll get these running. We'll keep them up
Yep.
so that they don't go downhill.
Yep. Yeah.
And yeah. So
It's about all we can do right now.
right. Right.
And if somebody needs to pull, I need to pull somebody out of the field, I can do that.
Yeah. Well, this one will fire right up and go. You can use her anytime. She's ready to go.
Yep.
And we'll get that way with that 10.
Yep. That's fine.
It's gonna need a pump, I think, but
we'll see what you can do with that.
yeah.
Oh.
Yep. So yeah, we'll get them all. We'll do some cleaning and stuff on this 14 and get her.
Yeah, get the mice out of the cab of the.
Yeah.
That's the problem when some things sit, too long.
Right. Yeah. But so yeah, a lot of people wondered what the story was with these tractors, and
Yep.
that's why.
Yep.
So
when you physically unable to do certain things, things go south, if you want to call it that.
yep. So, but we'll keep them running for you, and
Yep. And if you need a hand, I'm here.
Yep.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
So.
So, well, there we go. Well, thanks for sharing all the farm history.
Not much history, but.
I don't know. People enjoy hearing these stories.
Oh, really?
Yep. So.
Yeah, I wish my grandpa was still around.
Well,
Wish my dad was still around.
I wish I had video of my grandpa talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
I did a video like this with my dad, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Because then you'll always have that.
Yeah, like I say, I wish my dad was still around. He could tell you some good stories.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll have to share this. Your kids might enjoy this.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
fine.
Hearing the farm stuff, especially if they didn't really get involved with the farm, they might like hearing about that.
Well, no, they never. My daughter wasn't, ever, but my son, my oldest son was a little bit.
Yep.
Because he'd come down, because we were already divorced, I'd get him in the summertime, and he'd spend most of the summer with me.
Yep.
So, and now he's not even around here.
Yeah.
He's in Virginia, the state of Virginia.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, well, they might, like I said, they might like hearing some of this farm stuff.
I'm sure they would.
So, all right. Well, thanks, Larry.
Yep, you're totally welcome.